Guys, this is our second class of today, Tuesday 14. What we are going to have today is language arts. We are going to work a little bit in reading. So you need to have right now your learning destinations module 2 because we are going to need it. But before, I want you to see a video. What do you think the picture? A boy with maybe his father, right? What are they doing? They are observing some bicycles. Maybe because the boy wants his father to buy him a bicycle. So let's see the video to see what the video is about.
Making decisions sometimes means that we have to compare and contrast two or more things. My dad has brought me to the shop to pick out a new bike. I've narrowed it down to these two. Let's compare the bikes first. Comparing means that we look at how they are the same. Both bikes have the same wheels, seats, and lights. But to make a choice between the bikes, I have to contrast them. This means I have to decide how they are different. The bikes are different colors, they have different handlebars, and the prices of the bikes are different. So I've made a comparison by deciding how the two bikes are the same. And I've looked at the contrast between the two bikes to decide how they are different. The amount of money I've saved means that I can purchase the more expensive bike, and this red color is really nice.
So what was the video about? Compare and contrast. Do you remember that topic, right? Because we saw that topic in the first period, the first weeks that we were in school. Compare and contrast is when we have two objects and we want to know which one is better. So we start to compare and contrast those two objects to see which one is the best option and to make a good decision. For example, by here you are going to have, I want you to look at me. I have two cell phones in here. If we want to compare, we have to look for the similarities. And if we want to contrast, we have to look for the differences of the two objects. For example, what similarities do we have in the cell phones? We can say that both of them are Samsung. It's something that they are the same, okay? Similarities, we are comparing the same. Another one, both of them have internet. They are used to communicate. What else? Both of them are beautiful. Yes, we can say that. Now, when we find the similarities, we are comparing. Now, let's look for the differences in these two cell phones. What is the first difference that you can see? The color, right? This one is pink and this one is black. Also, if you weigh them, this one is heavier and this one is lighter. So that is another difference. Maybe the price is another difference. This one is expensive, more expensive than this one. So when we are looking for the differences, what they do not have in common, we are contrasting. So comparing and contrasting, remember, that are looking for the different, comparing are the similarities and contrasting are the differences. So compare. Okay, now guys, I need you to take your learning destinations module 2. Learning destinations module 2. We are going to start to use a new book of learning destinations, module 2. So look for your book and your highlighter and also your pencil because we are going to work. Okay? So are you ready? Okay. You already know that compare and contrast is looking for the similarities and the differences. So what we are going to do right now is to highlight the clue words. So here we have compare and contrast. Page 34. Page 34. Compare and contrast. So we are going to highlight which one is in the first point. Let's read the first point first. To compare and contrast two or more things is to show how things are alike and different. In all that sentence, which one are the clue words, the most important words that you have to remember? Compare and then contrast. What is compare and contrast? Is to show what? How things are alike and how they are different. So in other words, to compare is to look for the similarities and contrast is to look for the differences. Okay? Let's read the second point. The second point says, some clue words are as, like, but, and however. So let's underline those clue words. As, like, but, and however. That means that sometimes when you are reading a text and if you find words like as, like, but, or however, you are going to know that you found compare and contrast. And I want you to see the first two. As and like. As and like. As and like are used to compare. And I want you to see these sentences that I have here. Tina is as old as Sam. Again, Tina is as old as Sam. In here we are using as, and we are talking about Tina, and we are talking about Sam. And we are saying that both of them are old. So in here we are using as to compare Tina and Sam. And we are saying that they have the same age and both of them are old. Okay? Number 2. She swims like a fish. How do the fish swim? Slow or fast? Fast, right? So if we say that someone swims like a fish, we are saying that that person swims how? Fast, right? So we are comparing that person, she, with a fish. And we are using like to compare. So when we use as or like, is because we are comparing. Now we are going to look for examples of but and however. We already know that as and like are for comparing. But and however are for contrasting. And I want you to look at these examples. Read the sentence number 1. Zoe is a girl, but Camilo is a boy. So in here we are comparing Zoe and Camilo, right? And we are using, well, we are not comparing because comparing is to look for the differences. We are contrasting Zoe and Camilo. And we are using the word but to contrast Zoe and Camilo. Or to look for the differences. And what differences do we find between Zoe and Camilo? That Zoe is a girl and that Camilo is a boy. So when we use but, it's because we are contrasting or saying something that is different. Let's read the sentence number 2. The man has a lot of money. However, he is not happy. So in here we are comparing the same man, but we are comparing the situation. In the first part, the man has a lot of money. That situation is good or bad? Having a lot of money. Good, right? Who doesn't want to have money? Tell me. Okay, so we are comparing situations. In here we are comparing the situation of having a lot of money. But in here says, however, we are using however to contrast that having a lot of money is not the key to be happy. So here we are saying, however, he is not happy. So having a lot of money, even though it's good, but in here we have a situation that is bad because he is not happy. So we are contrasting how having a lot of money does not mean that you are going to be happy. Okay? So when we use but and when we use however, we are contrasting, or we use that for contrast. Okay? So remember, as, like, but, and however are clue words that are indicating that you have a compare and contrast in a text. And the last point says that sometimes writers do not use clue words when they compare and contrast things. So you have to analyze, because sometimes you are not going to have those words that are going to indicate or that are going to be a clue word for you. So now what we are going to do is to read. Let's see the directions. Read the following passage. Fill in the columns below based on Alex's observations about the differences between the ocean and the lake back home. So you are going to compare two things, the ocean and also the lake. But you have to read. So first we are going to read. I need you to follow the reading with me. Remember that we are not at school, so we cannot practice reading, but I need you to practice reading at home. So follow the reading with me, and if you can, read it by yourself again, aloud, so you can practice your reading skills, your reading fluency. So let's start reading. Axel had never been to the ocean before. Sorry, Alex. Alex had never been to the ocean before. So he was excited when Joel invited him to go with Joel's family to Rhode Island. As they walked across the sand, Joel asked Alex if he knew anything about a riptide, a strong flow of water near the shore. Afraid to admit he knew nothing about the sea, Alex told Joel he knew all about riptides, and it was not true. As he swam, Alex noticed several differences between lakes and oceans. Pay attention. Both were cold. Salty ocean water, however, seemed to allow him to float more easily. Ocean waves were also much larger than fresh water ones. Do you know what are the waves? The waves are these ones. Okay, so ocean waves were also much larger than fresh water ones. In the lake, Alex remembered that small fish swam around his feet. In the ocean, crabs crawled over them. Suddenly, Alex and Joel heard a whistle blow. A lifeguard was ordering swimmers out of the water. Alex heard the lifeguard explain to a man that the riptides had become too strong and had pulled a young girl hundreds of feet from shore. She had almost drowned. Alex gulped. He knew he had put himself in danger by not being honest about his ignorance. So guys, in the reading we can find two things. First, comparisons between the ocean and the lake. And the second thing that we can find is that Alex was not honest with Joel when they were talking about the riptides, because Alex didn't know anything about that. And riptides are dangerous because riptides pull people when they are in the ocean, pull people far and far and far, and they can drown, they can die. So Alex, for not accepting that he didn't know anything, he was not being honest, and he could have an accident that day, but the story ended very well. So guys, here we have a chart. This is a chart that you have to complete. We are comparing and contrasting the lake and the ocean. Well, the direction says about only differences, so we are going to contrast only. Contrast. We are going to find only differences. And you already have number one. In the lake, it says that you have fresh water. Fresh water is water that is not with salt. Okay? So in the ocean, how is the water? Remember that you have to contrast. So if in the lake you have fresh water, in the ocean you have? Okay, answer by yourself. Let's continue with another one. What else can we find about the lake and ocean? What another difference can we find about lake and ocean? Okay, I want you to read this. Ocean waves were also much larger than freshwater ones. So the waves of the ocean were larger. So let's write in the ocean, larger waves. So if the ocean has larger waves, the lake has, how are the waves of the lake? Okay, answer by yourself. And let's find another one. Okay, I want you to read this. In the lake, Axel remembered that small fish swam around his feet, and in the ocean, crabs crawl over them. So here we have another difference, and we are going to write, in the lake we find what? Small fish. And in the ocean? So answer by yourself. I already helped you with some of them. Okay. Now guys, I want you to do this activity, home activity. It says that you have to look for similarities and differences of two places that you have visited. Okay? So in here, for example, if you have gone to San Pedro Sula, here you are going to write San Pedro Sula, and another place can be, for example, right? Let's say that you have gone to Roatan. Okay? So you are going to write the two places that you have visited, And in this part, you are going to write the differences between San Pedro Sula and Roatan. Differences. What do they have in contrast? Different. And in here, you are going to write the similarities. Okay? So, I want 2 differences and 2 similarities. 2 differences and 2 similarities. Okay? So complete this chart and complete this activity. Okay guys, now I need you to go to page 35, writing description, page 35. And we are going to do this one faster than the other one because it's something that you already know also. So we are going to read the key features of a description. The first one says that a description uses vivid language. And what is vivid language? Is the language that you are going to use to write a description in a way that the person that is going to read what you wrote has to imagine what you were writing just by reading. When you read something and you can imagine every scene of that is because you were using vivid language. I will explain this part later. Can be part of a longer story is the number 2, and the number 3 says often provides details that tell what something smelled, felt, or tasted like, as well as how something looked and sounded. In other words, vivid language or a description has to appeal to the 5 senses. Okay, do you remember which one are the 5 senses? The sight, the ear, the smell, it's a nose, supposedly a nose, the touch, that is a hand. Don't laugh about my dreams, my drawing, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, and what is missing? The taste. Okay, a mouth. Those are the 5 senses. So when you are writing a description, you have to use words that explain how something looks, how something sounds, how something smells, how something feels by the touch, and how something tastes by the mouth. So right now, I want you to do an activity. I will read something for you. Try to close your eyes, but do it, okay? Close your eyes, and I will read something, and try to imagine, just by what you listen to, what I am talking about. Are you ready? Okay, close your eyes. We are not going to pray. I am going to read and you are going to imagine what I am reading. At the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. I hear the pop, 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 pop. I smell something buttery. I see something white. I feel something soft. I taste something salty. What could it be? What is your answer? Was I talking about chocolate? Cookies? Apples? Popcorns? Yes, I was talking about popcorns. So I want you to see something that is in here. This is what I was reading. And it says, I hear the pop, 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 pop. What sense was I using in here? The sense of the ear. You are describing how something sounds. Pop, 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 pop. When the microwave is cooking the popcorns. I smell something buttery, something that smells delicious. I see something white. How do you know that something is white? By your eyes. So you are describing how that object sounds, how that object smells, how that object looks. I feel something soft. If you touch the popcorns, they are going to be soft. So you are using another sense. And I taste, when you taste them, something salty. So it cannot be chocolate because chocolate is sweet. So by using words that appeals to your senses, to your five senses, you are using vivid language. That is vivid language or sensory details. Sensory details or sensory words are words that describe how something looks, listen, smells, feels, and tastes. Okay? So I want you to here you have it. Sensory details in writing describes the way things look, sound, smells, taste, or feel. There you have the five senses. And I want, let me see, I want this. Here you have the five senses and you have another reading. Christmas Day. Let's read it with me. Christmas Day is one of my favorite ones. I like the fresh odor of the pine tree in the living room. In that sentence, I like the fresh odor of the pine tree in the living room. What sense are you using? The smell, right? Your nose. So let's continue. I love to eat the sweet cookies. How do you know that the cookies are sweet? By the taste of, by the sense of the taste. Okay, so we have so far we have two senses prepared by my grandmother. I enjoy my family singing Christmas carols. How do you know that they are singing? You are describing how something sound, singing Christmas carols. Also, when I go outside, I really love the frozen snow. How do you know that the snow is frozen or cold, very cold? By your toes. Excellent. And finally, I am amazed with the bright lights all over the city. What sense do you use? Your eyes. Christmas is a wonderful day. So in here we could see a description of a Christmas day. And the person who wrote that was describing how Christmas day smells to pine trees, how something sounds, how it sounds, like Christmas carols, right? How Christmas day tastes, and it says sweet cookies because it's generally they have cakes or things like that, and so on. How it feels in places where it snows, so it feels frozen, and how something looks or how Christmas Day looks, and it looks bright because in Christmas people decorate the houses with a lot of lights, so it looks bright. So if you could see here, that is a sensory detail. That is using sensory details to do a description. So now, guys, what you are going to do right now is to read Remembering Grandpa. After reading this, Remembering Grandpa, you are going to, let me show you. You are going to answer number 1 and number 2. Number 1 says, list 3 sensory words from the selection. Remember that sensory words are words that appeal to your senses. And in number 2 says, what is the writer like? How do you know? How is the writer? The person who wrote this story. How is that person? And how do you know that? So I need you to read Remembering Grandpa and answer number 1 and number 2. And that is all for today. See you tomorrow in another class of language arts.